Welcome back to The Thoughtful Therapist. I'm Jimmy Slaughter. This is a quiet space for thought and reflection. No therapy, no coaching, just shared thinking. Let's take this one thought at a time. Episode 3 Emotions. What are emotions? What do they do? Why do they do it? What is their purpose? This question is at the forefront of psychology. And much like the field, I am stymied by my limited understanding of them. I experience them. I watch others experience them, that's for sure. And often I just have no idea how a specific event is impacting perception and behavior in the way that it does. I'm not sure we fully understand the mechanics of that. My understanding of emotions comes in fragmented sections that I hope mesh together into something cohesive, even though it has holes. And that's what I'm going to share today. So let's start from my baseline understanding and see how we go. But maybe there's another question underneath all of it. Like, is one emotion better than another? We chase happiness. We avoid sadness. We use fear as a compass for what not to touch or do. Is joy always the goal? Is sadness always the enemy? And is fear just something to conquer? Or is that like the hierarchy of emotions that we've been under the assumption of? Emotions are one of the primary tools we use to create our perception of reality. We know that. Past events, present interpretations, and imagined futures, they all generate emotional reactions. And those reactions create the reality we believe we're living in. On a basic level, emotions gather information. They orient behavior, and they help us complete tasks, make choices, and even keep us safe. On a deeper level, they are profoundly meshed into our sense of being. They influence our morals, ethics, values, and self-concept. They shape relationships, behavioral patterns, and even our direction. What's my career, my personality, and my identity? But are they accurate? If someone says something to me that I take as an attack on my character, does my feeling that prove that that's what they meant? Like, if I feel rejected, does that mean I was rejected? Emotions are real, but are they reliable narrators? From a biological standpoint, emotions make perfect sense. Things that make us feel good, fulfill needs, and reduce stress, and we orient towards them. That's joy. Things that create stress, loss, pain, we orient away from them. That's sadness. And events that threaten destruction, create ambiguity, those things that make us run, fight, or freeze, that's fear. Now, this is a simplified model, but you can see through this how emotions served survival very well. I mean, we are still here. But this is where it gets really fuzzy for me. Survival and fulfillment are not the same thing. And I'm not sure that our emotional system is optimized for our meaning. I think it might just be optimized for our survival. And the distinction between the two matters a lot. So let's sit with the three big emotions. Now, there are more, but these are the three that we deal with on the day-to-day basis. These are the powerhouses. We'll start with fear. Fear keeps you alive. Fear protects what matters. Fear shows you what you care about. Without fear, we wouldn't protect our children. We wouldn't double-check the stove. We wouldn't hesitate before stepping into traffic. It lets us know about danger. Fear can be pretty intelligent, but it misfires. And it sees monsters and shadows. It treats discomfort as a threat. It shrinks your life to protect you from pain. So is fear bad? I don't think so. Is it just an unexamined fear? That's the issue, is just fear we don't understand. And lastly, is fear worse than joy? The next feeling we have is sadness. And then there's sadness. Sadness feels heavy. It slows us. It isolates us. But sadness is often evidence that something really mattered, right? It can be a real privilege to mourn. If you lost something and felt nothing, would that be better? Or would that mean that it never mattered? Because you can't really mourn what you never loved. Sadness can often be an echo of joy, and that's powerful. And is sadness worse than joy? Is joy the best one? Joy motivates, it bonds, it expands. But joy too has a shadow. That same dopamine loop that fuels love also fuels gambling. The same chemistry that bonds can trap. Joy can create chasing, entitlement, certainty. That idea of, I need this, I deserve this, I can't live without this. Even those positive emotions can narrow our world. So maybe emotions aren't really ranked. Maybe they're just relational. Fear might just mean something matters. Sadness might be indicative of something we lost that was real. And joy might mean that something just aligns right. This might sound strange, but sometimes emotions almost feel like allergic reactions. Like we know why the body has that allergic reaction to something, but it overreacts big time trying to protect us. I mean, an allergic reaction will literally close your throat trying to save you, which is so strange. But fear closes your world trying to save you too. And sadness can shut you down in an attempt to conserve energy. The body isn't necessarily looking out for your fulfillment, it's looking out for survival. It's like a squirrel that darts in front of your car trying to throw off a predator, or like a frog that jumps towards headlights because, for them, light sources often mean food. The system reacts based on what worked before, but not necessarily what works now. And it's interesting, right? Because emotions tend to come first. First we feel, then we think, then we act. But when emotion is intense, thinking often becomes more like lawyery and less judgy. Like we don't examine the emotion, we just justify it. Like this always happens. It's never going to change. This proves that I'm right. It creates certainty where there really isn't any. And it feels stabilizing, even if it's wrong. I mean, it's easy to live inside of an always or a never. It's much harder to live inside of a maybe. This next part is difficult for me to talk about without sounding clinical, so stick with me. You'll notice sometimes the emotions don't move on or cycle like perhaps they should. They settle, they fester, they embed themselves into something more. Feelings like depression, anxiety, and euphoria. The same primary emotions. They're just amplified, concentrated, maybe hardened. When someone is depressed, their emotions often say, isolate, stay in the dark, stop all self care, stop striving. From the inside, those choices don't feel irrational, though. They feel protective. And here's the interesting part, it's almost ironic, really. The very things that tend to help depression are often the exact opposite of what our depression tells us to do, right? Go outside, move your body, talk to someone you care about or not, or someone you don't know. Just talk to somebody. Do something small and structured that makes you feel good, that's maybe goal oriented. And depression's a tricky one because it's not like it's screaming at you, it's not threatening you, but it almost whispers, right? Like, you don't need to do that. Just stay here, it's safe. Let's not make it any harder. How much better would it be if it was just us? It doesn't feel urgent, it feels reasonable. And that's part of why it's powerful. Because the system thinks it's conserving energy, reducing risk, protecting you. But in doing so, it often deepens the very state it's responding to. Not because you may lack discipline or you're weak, but it's just the emotional system. It's not optimized for long term flourishing, it's optimized for short term safety. Anxiety is similar in that, but it's different because, depression whispers, but anxiety screams. It doesn't say, stay here, stay safe. It says, move, fix it, check it again, think about it one more time, run the scenario, prepare for impact. Anxiety feels urgent and responsible. It feels like you're being vigilant, and sometimes it is. Anxiety double checks the stove. It reminds you of deadlines. It makes you prepare for the presentation, but it misfires all the time. It treats imagination like a prediction. It confuses possibility with probability. It assumes uncertainty equals danger. And just like depression, the thing that often helps anxiety is the opposite of what the emotion is suggesting. Instead of more checking, less checking. Instead of more thinking, less spiraling. Instead of rehearsing every possible disaster, step out into the uncertainty anyway. Not like blissfully unaware, but, you know. Anxiety says, don't let your guard down. Think about it one more time. If you relax, something might slip through. It feels intelligent, like you're preventing some catastrophe. But sometimes it's just the system overfiring, trying to eliminate uncertainty in a world that cannot be made certain. And it is exhausting. Because anxiety and depression, they both promise control. But that control is often an illusion. And the harder we chase it, the tighter the loop becomes. So now we have this strange picture: fear that protects but can shrink us, sadness that hurts but proves something mattered, joy that expands but can also trap, depression that whispers retreat, anxiety that demands vigilance, and none of them are evil. And then there's the other side. When joy intensifies without breaks, we get euphoria and mania. This one feels different. If depression whispers with insidious doubts and anxiety screams frantic fears, it is an unstoppable force of energy that seduces with high speed and euphoric brilliance, only to burn out like a firework. Mania and euphoria are described in contrast to depression and anxiety. So if depression whispers and anxiety screams, mania dances. It often begins as feeling pretty seductive. It's often described by people as a feeling of dancing, humming, or vibrating. It's teasing the mind into a false sense of untouchable joy. Mania also burns. It is often described as a fire or a combustible stage inside my veins. While anxiety screams in panic, mania roars with excessive productive energy, taking over the mind with racing thoughts and uncontrollable excitement. And before it crashes, it feels like flying. A Superman surge. We call it Superman syndrome. It makes the world seem vivid, highly saturated, creating a false sense of grandeur and invincibility. But underneath it is the same exact system as the others. It's just an overfiring in the other direction from depression and anxiety. The same chemistry that bonds can bond too tightly. The same drive that motivates us can outrun reflection. Joy without regulation can become certainty. And certainty through any of these emotions, no matter which direction, can narrow our minds and ourselves. Because when we feel absolutely sure, we stop asking questions. And maybe the three aren't just categories at all. Maybe they're like the primary colors: fear, sadness, and joy. And everything else we feel is some sort of a blend. Like anger, right? Anger might be a nice blend of fear and sadness mixed together. Hurt plus threat creates this clarity born from the overwhelming feelings. Excitement might be joy and fear, possibility with adrenaline. And shame might be sadness turned inward. Colliding, envy might be joy and sadness colliding. Love might be joy with vulnerability threaded through it. The combinations are really endless here, which means we can look at someone who's just angry, and we might actually be looking at someone who's just hurt and afraid. Then we look at someone who's anxious. We might be looking at someone trying to protect something important. And when we look at someone euphoric, maybe what we're looking at is someone whose joy has just outran their brakes. The emotion we see is rarely the only color present. It's normally the whole palette. And that makes this all much more complicated and harder, but also makes it more human too, right? Like, let's go back to anger because it's one of the easiest blends to see. We get angry because it looks and feels like strength. You feel so clear, it feels decisive. A lot of our moral boundaries fade away to just get to the seemingly natural outcome that your anger is telling you need to do, right? Hurt plus threat. It's just fear and sadness mixed together. Road rage is a really good example. Let's say someone cuts you off in traffic. There are two things that happen almost instantly. First, it kind of hurts your feelings. Is this person so unconcerned about me and my life that they would do something careless like this? Do I mean nothing? That's sadness. It hurts. And then there's fear, right? Because you just put my life in danger. Cars are not safe. That could have been catastrophic for me or my family or whoever else is involved. So we get hurt and scared. And what does that anger do? It clarifies, it condenses, like I said earlier, and it makes it feel like there's just one obvious next move. Tailgate them, show them, make them feel what you felt. Anger says, I'll become the threat now. And it's meant to ward off danger. It pushes people away, and we think it makes us look stronger. And it works, but like all emotions, it needs heavy examination. Because when you look at an angry person, I mean, really look, you're often looking at someone who's scared and sad. When you see that middle-aged man yelling at the cashier bagging his groceries, pause for just a second. It's probably not power you're seeing. It's probably someone who's overwhelmed. Anger's intention is to protect. To need protection, one must either be sad or scared, right? It's funny because out of all the things I've learned, this one really sticks with me. When I see that angry guy at the store yelling at the bad girl or boy, my reaction is now almost like oh, poor guy, he needs a hug. And anger's really isolating in nature. Like I said, it's meant to push people away so they're not a threat or they can't hurt me. So the question then becomes, when I'm angry, who am I pushing away? And is that really what I want? And this is important because anger is not an unappealing emotion at all. It feels good. It simplifies so much noise, makes choices seem easier. Not normally great choices, but a choice. And after it's done, it's finished. But it's coercive. And it adopts the idea that accepting long-term pain for short-term safety is okay. And it accepts that future pain in exchange for immediate certainty. And that certainty can feel like relief. But relief is not the same thing as resolution. And often anger doesn't lead us where we actually want to go. None of them are perfect. They're adaptive systems trying to solve problems. But they don't always solve the right problem. And they don't normally update fast enough. And this is where I want to slow down a little bit. Because this next part really matters. And it's something I said earlier in the episode. It is a privilege to mourn. Now, I know that hits some people hard. If you feel sadness at the loss of someone, that sadness is proof of something beautiful. Would you rather not feel it? We often forget what people looked like, how they sounded, even how they smelled. But we remember how they made us feel. Now imagine not having that feeling at all. Would life be easier? Or just less? Now here's the hardest layer. Even if this is new information for you today, if you haven't thought this through like I have, if you haven't studied it for years like I have, do you think it weakens the strength of your emotions in that moment? Probably not by much. That hasn't been my experience. So why even ask this question? Maybe it's not for the moment of emotional intensity, right? Maybe it's not to catch ourselves. Maybe it's for when the emotion subsides, when we can sit back and reflect. What was it my body reacted to? What did I assume? What did it make me think? What did it protect? What did it cost? And what about the other person or people? Did they not have all those same experiences? Are they really different from me? Or are we all just reacting systems trying to survive complicated environments? Now, I don't have this wrapped up neatly at all. Emotions are real, they are powerful, and they're often useful, but they are not normally good representations of reality. And they are not particularly good drivers of behavior either. I don't think I've ever gotten angry and been like, "Hey, I'm going to go back to school and make good choices." They're not permanent though either. I don't think I have ever had a feeling that lasted forever. Maybe the goal isn't to conquer them then. Maybe it's to understand them just enough so that when that certainty those emotions give you fade, we don't disappear with them. We can think about them. Or maybe we're all just frogs jumping at headlights, reacting, interpreting, surviving, and occasionally, if we slow down long enough, learning. Thanks for thinking this through with me. The Thoughtful Therapist.